Hey everybody, Marcus C. Williams here. And I just want to express my deepest condolences to the Kirk family for Charlie's passing. And I'd like to express my biggest and greatest thanks for Charlie and everything that he's done. Hats off to you, Charlie. I'm gonna miss you, brother. Love you. I want to thank Charlie for everything that he's done. He's done a great deal for the conservative movement and encouraging more people to come over to conservatism and many people to see the light and the error that has been pushed out from the left and the Marxists and the Democrats and the socialists and all of them. He's done so much, and he's impacted millions of people across the world, not just in the US, pushing a message of strong conservatism, strong America first values, and the fact of the matter is he's really converted tens of thousands, if not more, of individuals to conservatism, or at least to see the light that the Democrat and the far left are not the way. And that is an amazing accomplishment. And I'm sure he's impacted many more people's lives than he will ever have known. And it's just, I'm so grateful for being a member of the TPUSA family. Okay. We are TPUSA strong, and we have to push forward. And even in light of his assassination, we must redouble our efforts to push forward and encourage conservative values and the important conversations. That's what's so important. So important. He would always be willing to have conversations and debates with almost anybody on any spectrum of their beliefs. And that's something that I always endeavor to do too, because as I say all the time, if we're not going to have the important conversations, nobody else is going to. And there's far too much silence in America right now where people are afraid to speak up, afraid to share their values, afraid that if they speak out against something that a couple years ago would have seemed ridiculous, that now they'll be shunned by their friends, their families, their peers, and everything else. So Charlie did his best to normalize open discussion and really pushed hard on the First Amendment. I see some of you guys commenting out there. I see your comments. Thank you for wanting to encourage me. I appreciate that. I appreciate you, Anna. I appreciate you too. Thank you, guys. It's serious what we've seen, right? We've seen a leader in the conservative movement stolen from us, intentionally martyred. As a Christian brother, as a conservative brother, he was martyred, assassinated, intentfully to silence his voice and steal it away, to silence it for nobody to hear it evermore. Thankfully, there are massive amounts of recordings of his conversations, the discussions that he's had, and all types of other stuff going on that he has done and put forth. So it's such a blessing to have that, so more people can still see the legacy that he left behind us of open debate and the encouragement to actually, push forward on values that mean something to you. Because at the end of the day, what Charlie was about was standing on values like America first, values like family, values like a new dawning of a new day for our nation, where we all can have what was promised to us as Americans, and that's the American dream, family, a home, a car, the things that we've all been promised but are slowly being peeled away from the Marxist, leftists, and Democrats. They're pushing collectivism. The TPUSA movement was about individuality. It's about doing for yourself. It's about standing in the truth of our historical roots and the promise of what America can and should be. But far too often, far too often, we end up in places like blue cities or blue states where people with conservative values and conservative thoughts are shunned, are derided, are even threatened openly. And people act like nothing's happening or everything's okay. Well, guess what? It's not okay. And the assassination of Charlie Kirk put that at the forefront. And this needs to be the biggest part of the discussion, that this was not just an attack on an individual. This was an attack on a movement. It was an attack on the conservative movement, and it was an attack on the idea that America could be something that is not a collectivist, Marxist, totalitarian atrocity. And that's why we must stand up now more than ever. Let me tell you, as somebody who speaks out very often on all types of very serious topics, I appreciate you, Todd. I see you there. Thank you. As somebody that speaks up on all types of topics, very serious topics, okay, all the time, I'm constantly encouraging people to feel empowered, that their voice matters, that they can actually change and influence others around them. But you got to speak up. And they've silenced Charlie's voice because they don't want us to speak up. And we must now, more than ever, champion forward conservative values, champion forward American first values, and redouble our efforts, triple our efforts to push our country forward, not just into prosperity, but into a nation that will be empowering and enriching all of our citizens, not just some, which is what the Democrats and the Marxist leftists want. They're doing everything in their power to silence everyone. Now, let me tell you this, the situation with Charlie, this wasn't the beginning. We see now on college campuses, there's a giant conversation about, yeah, that's where I'm going, Anna. Anna, you already knew where I was going. Okay, Anna beat me to the punch. But we see on campuses now that there's this big conversation about anti-Semitism, right? Well, anti-Semitism that, anti-Semitism this, right? Well, wait, where did this anti-Semitism come from on college campuses? It didn't start with the Jews or with Israel, okay? It started with the attack on Christians. First, they came for the Christians, then they came for the Catholics, then they came for the conservatives. Because if you had any inkling of something that gives you a real reason to believe that you yourself are not the center of the universe and that there is a higher power, they wanted to drum that out of you. They didn't want you to talk about faith. Charlie was a devout Christian, a born-again Christian. Love you, brother. And they don't want you to talk about faith, okay? They don't want you to talk about anything to do with conservative values. That's why they came for us first. And then they went after the Jews in Israel. But we don't have that conversation. And we should have that conversation because it's a very, very, very pertinent conversation. Christians are under continued attack, not just in our nation, but all across the world. Syria, China, Korea, okay? We've got it all over Africa in so many different countries. You understand what I'm saying? Christianity is openly under attack. Why is Christianity under attack? Yes, it is the one true religion, okay? But it's more than just that. It's that it cultivates inside us as individuals the concept that serving righteously and positively impacting others through embodying the teachings in the gospel is a life-changing and impactful mission that we are challenged to take on every single day. You may have heard of it before. Pick up your cross and go with Jesus, walk with the Lord. This is something that we're challenged to do every single day. And Charlie did it masterfully. And we must not allow his sacrifice to be in vain. His life was cut short in his prime, 31 years old, young family, okay? Wife, kids, you know what I'm saying? Is this what's okay right now? You just assassinated a man who was more than willing to have open conversation with people that disagree with him. Heck, with people that downright hated him. And this is something that we truly, truly, truly need to look at and say, man, this gentleman right here, while I might not agree with him and everything that he says all the time, he really was open to having serious conversations, and I can respect that. So this is something that surpasses what we as individuals can understand. And I'm encouraging you to see what happened to Charlie today as an attack on all of Christendom. This was an attack on Christians. We just saw that attack on that Christian school. Okay, they shot up and murdered all those children at that Christian school. And it was in the news for like a half a cycle. It just happened like last week. And nobody's talking about it already. Why? Because it was a trans shooter, or because they were Christians? Or maybe it was because they were Christians and this is like the 6th shooting at a Christian school by a trans shooter in the last 12 months. We're averaging one a month, one every other month right now. But can we have that real conversation? Christians are under attack, and we must stand up. Anybody that's willing to stand up for true values and for being an impactful individual, you're under threat. And we must pick up that burden every day and carry it with us forward every single day. I know it. I talk about a lot of stuff that bothers a lot of people. Why? Because it's important, and to encourage all of those that I know that agree with me, that I know feel the same, who are scared, who are silent, who feel like their voices don't matter, to encourage every single one of them to have hope and have faith. And Charlie delivered continuously on his message of hope, faith, and a better tomorrow. Because together we can change our nation. We can restore our nation to a nation that works for all of us, where we have a thriving middle class, where we can have leisure time, where we don't have to spend $1 bazillion on electricity or housing or food. He was very, very steadfast on the fact that under our current president, President Trump, we were seeing a time of renewal and a comeback in our nation, and that we were entering a new golden age. But they cut his life short, because who wants you to carry out a message of hope? A message that's based in traditional and conservative values. That's frowned upon now. That's why I encourage all of you to stand. We can't let his sacrifice go to waste. We can't let the sacrifice of those children who were murdered in that Christian school go to waste. We see all of these martyrs piling up, bodies piling up, because they do not want us to speak up. They are trying to make us fearful. They are trying to scare us into submission and compliance. And it's not okay. And I know Charlie wasn't everybody's cup of tea. I didn't always agree with Charlie on everything, but we agreed on the most important things. And that's faith, freedom, and America first. Okay? And a big part of that is family. And in Charlie, a lot of people found new family through the TPUSA movement, through the conservative movement, friends and like-minded individuals that they never knew existed. You know, Charlie really brought a lot of us together, and I'm very thankful for that. He also pushed such an impactful, powerful message of hope. Hope that we could have open debates and open discussions. Hope that we could make sure that we stand on the Constitution, stand up for the Constitution, and stand on the Constitutions 10 toes down, especially the Bill of Rights. But what I see right now happening already in the news, his body is not even cold yet. And they are attacking this man and picking him apart. What's worse than that is they are pushing gun restrictions and pushing against the Second Amendment because Charlie was shot. It's so disgusting. It makes me want to spit, y'all. I'm so frustrated because Charlie was, like I said, a very strong supporter of the Constitution and of the Second Amendment. He would never want his death, his murder, his assassination to be used to push anti-Second Amendment legislation. And the Democrats are already out here before his body is cold doing that insanity. It's unacceptable. We have to be able to protect ourselves. We as Christians are under attack. We as conservatives are under attack, and we must train ourselves through combat sports, through firearms training to protect ourselves. Because as we saw with Charlie and his terrible incidents that happened, as we saw with those children at that school, at that Christian school, you don't always have the ability to have security or the police or somebody stop and protect you. It's unacceptable. I live in New York State, you guys. They have done everything that they can to disadvantage, law-abiding citizens, steal away their Second Amendment rights, make it difficult to have a firearm that's even barely operable, right? More or less one that's actually functional. It's horrible. They've even gotten rid of bulletproof vests in New York State. I never heard of somebody beating somebody to death with a bulletproof vest, or bulletproof vests just running around killing people. You understand what I'm saying? So the fact of the matter is none of this has ever been about safety. It's always been about control. And if they can make you fear for your life, they can make you walk right into government control and submission. And Charlie wasn't about that. And he gave us a reason to stand. He gave us a platform to stand. He gave us a united vision for the future. And he gave us TPUSA. He gave us Club America. He gave us a real reason to believe that many of us who have felt alone for years are not alone, that we are not the only ones out there that think the way that we do, that feel the way that we do, and that believe in our country. This is serious. Out of all of the great things that he did, he would always put God at the forefront. And he would always start off with prayers and stuff like that, and religious stuff like that. Today at the event, they tried to say that, the part about the religious stuff and the praying and stuff like that, it was taking too long and they wanted to get on to other stuff. Let me tell you that is the devil. Okay. And that is these leftists, because not are they only anti-Christian, they are anti-life. They support murdering babies before they've even had a chance to live. So you wonder why people are out here murdering people senselessly in all these blue states. Because if you don't value a baby's life, how could you value an adult's life? Now in places like where I live in New York State, they've got it where they're even murdering our elders. They've got eldercide in New York State. Okay. They're calling it compassionate. But again, it's more anti-life, anti-Christian nonsense. This is what they're pushing on us. And it's really, really serious. I see you, Maureen. It's really, really serious. This assassination today was an attempt to destroy yet and silence yet another Christian voice. Somebody that's willing to stand up. I don't know if you guys know Bishop Marimar, okay, in Australia. They tried to assassinate him last year, okay, because he speaks up against all this encouragement of sin. He speaks up against all of this perversion of God's creation and nature. So they tried to stab him to death and he ended up losing his eye, but they were able to stop the assailant. And do you know what Bishop Marimar did? He pled with his congregation not to kill the individual that attacked him and attempted to take his life. He pled with them and he prayed with the man until the police arrived. And trust and believe, and you can go look this up in those videos, his followers were trying to get in there and murder that man that attempted to kill him. You know, so for people that are strong like that, like Bishop, like Charlie, that are willing to stand up and put their life on the line, continuously speaking up, we must have heart and we must speak up. And this is why I always encourage people to stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action, because we must, because nobody is coming to do it for us. And right now, we see far too many people that call themselves Christians saying, oh, somebody's going to come out the clouds and somebody else is going to do it for us. That's not scriptural. Okay, that's not in the Bible. That's not how the Bible works. It says that we have to do it. And we pray to God for the increase. Okay? We've got all these people that are calling themselves conservatives or Republicans that have clearly been so battered and beaten by the Democrats in these blue areas, which have crime out the wazoo, which have it where you can't put criminals in jail, which have it where they're closing the prisons, and they've got domestic criminals running amok like criminal terrorists in our neighborhoods. So now that's encouraged many conservatives and many Republicans to say, yes, we want the boot of the government down our necks. We want martial law in our neighborhoods and communities, in the cities and stuff. No, our founding fathers warned us against that type of stuff. But what's been encouraged by people like myself, Charlie, and others is that we get active, is that we take responsibility and we get responsive to what's going on the local level. That's why Charlie went out and pushed to set up all types of stuff like the college campus tour, okay, like the different chapters at different college campuses, like the chapters in the high schools, because he knows that all politics are local. And if we can start opening hearts and minds on the local level, that's how we can change local legislation, which is harming us all. And that's how we can affect national legislation and real change. This is what we have to do. We have to stand, because nobody is coming to save us, you guys. Nobody. We really, 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 really have to stand up now more than ever. And I encourage you, even though this is a sad, solemn occasion, don't be sad. Keep the positive memories that we have of Charlie. Okay? Keep the positive memories of all of the people that he has impacted. Because he started and took a hold of a very, very, very important area that was not served for decades by a conservative voice. And that was college campuses. That was the schools, which we know are a cesspool for Marxism and leftist thought prisons. And that's why we must push forward, you guys. We've got to push forward, because if we don't push forward, regardless, nothing will change. Nothing will change. John, I see you commenting there. John says, there is no one running for city council speaking up against the gun violence in our city except for Marcus. He's talking about me. I'm running for city council where I live because I want to encourage more people, because I believe that our city where I live, which is a deep blue city, it's been blue for 60 years. I believe that we can be the change that we want to see. And for somebody to make a difference, it has to be me that stands up. It has to be you that stands up. You can be the light for so many people that you don't even know. And you can impact so many people that you don't even know, like Charlie did. Okay? This is very, very, very important. We have to actually start pushing back against this leftist nonsense and indoctrination. It's so important. Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate you too. It's so important that we stand up and we speak up, because I'm going to tell you right now, if you think for one moment that the government's going to come in and save you, you're outside your mind. If you think for one moment somebody's coming out the clouds to save you, you're missing it. If you think somebody's coming out the ground to come save you, not happening. You think somebody's coming in on a white horse? Not gonna happen, okay? But you know what is able to be done? You can stand up. You can make a difference in your area. Maybe you'd like to start up a TPUSA chapter in your college. Maybe you'd like to get active in your political arena where you live. Maybe you'd like to run for office. But whatever it is, we have to get active. And all the time, we have to know and understand that we are under threat. We are under threat for our lives. And I'm very active on speaking up on all types of issues that shouldn't be controversial. Like in my city, they just passed a law under our noses in the sanctuary city laws. This is even crazier, okay? Because it's not even just the illegal aliens. They passed a law that says that men can be in the bathroom with women, right? Men can be in the bathroom with women. They can also be in dressing rooms, changing rooms, and bathing facilities. They really went out of their way to say and bathing facilities, because I've never used those two words in a sentence before. So somebody thought really hard on that. But they're doing that in our city now, and I'm pushing back against that. A lot of people aren't happy about that. A lot of people are proud that somebody's standing up. Who's that? Annette, I appreciate you. I'm fighting hard to get the city back. We're going to turn this place around, okay? And it starts here at home. But we have to stand, and a lot of people are happy about me standing up for that. But a lot of people are not happy. Not as many. They're far left, but they're far I meant to say far less, but I said far left. But they are far left. They are far left. They'll tell you that men can be women. Now, I don't care if you want to cut your wedding tackle off, or if you want to cut your arm off and staple it to your back. Okay? That's your business. But when you're saying that I need to participate in your psychosis, now we have a problem, because you're forcing your worldview on me. You're trying to push this stuff in legislation, and you're trying to legislate a change and a shift in the actual culture of the majority of our citizens, and that's not okay. You're trying to force social change through government, and that's not okay. And this whole time that they're pushing this type of nonsense, stuff like this, Charlie spoke up against on a regular basis, why people were upset with him. You could see one of those weird alphabet flags, the ones that's got like the sigil on them and stuff like that, and it's got the black people on there. You know, I wasn't really caring when they had just a rainbow flag, but when they put black people on there, that made me upset, because the Black Council did not approve the alphabet people for putting us on that daggone flag. Okay? Nobody approved that. Okay? You know, this is it's crazy. It's crazy. So we've got a lot of people, that are too scared to speak up for reasonable things, like just saying men shouldn't be in women's bathrooms. Now, people will make something like this a transgender issue, right? Now, in the law that they put into our city, it doesn't say transgender. It says gender identity and gender expression. And it tells you that you can't ask somebody and you shouldn't question it. Well, not questioning something, the government telling you that you can't question something, hold on now. That means that we should definitely question that law. But this is the type of stuff that we as conservatives, that we as Christians must stand up and push back against. That anybody that's in their right mind in the United States should be pushing back against. But people get mad. Why are you mad? And they'll say, oh, well, you know, they're not likely, trans people are not likely to do a sexual assault on anybody else. I say, what statistics are you basing that on? You have no statistics to base that on. Because one, there's such a small fraction of the society. You're talking about less than 0.1% of the population of the United States of America, are 320 or 30 million people, whatever we got now, because all those illegals, whatever the number is, you're talking about like a 0.1%, not even 1% of the population identifies that. So you're forcing everybody else in society to conform with less than 0.1%. How is that not giving people superior rights over others? How is that not just exactly the same as elitism? You understand what I'm saying? It's alphabetism elitism. And it's interesting to me because I don't think, for me, it's not about transgenderism at all. I don't care. You know, that's beyond the point. The fact is the way that it is written in that law, it says that it's gender identity. What even is a gender identity? That doesn't exist. You're either a man or you're a woman. Okay, it's one or the other. You're male or you're female. You're not something else. And these same people that say, oh, well, it's about transgenders. Okay, well, if it is, you've told me that man that says that he's a woman that calls himself transgender is a woman. So if I'm telling you that it's about men in women's bathrooms, we're talking about two different things. You're not talking about the same stuff that I'm talking about, but I catch flack for that. But I'm trying to explain to them that it's not about that when we've got 1,000 pedophiles in our city that are registered sex offenders. 969 is how many we have in my city. Okay, we only got like 180,000 people in my city. That's a lot. And remember, 90% of sexual assaults are never reported. Okay, so that goes to show you how many people that are really out there. And they'll take advantage of these types of laws because, again, it says that you can't ask. And then on top of it saying gender expression, which is just what somebody tells you out of their mouth or what they think in their head, it doesn't have to be based in reality. And there's no identity check for that. Okay. It also says that it's gender expression. Now, gender expression is very simply only how you appear. So that's a cross-dresser. So that means you can be, and a lot of cross-dressers are straight, y'all. So that means you could just be a cross-dresser and go into the women's bathroom because you think that it's okay. Nobody can question it. But we're not even able to have that conversation. And here's the thing. You've never heard of, they say, oh, well, they won't assault anybody or anything. But you've never heard of transgenders getting killed in a bathroom of the gender that they were born in. Never heard of that. Never heard, just not one documented time of that ever happening. Okay. And this, again, is not about them. This is about the conversation around the fact that there are people that will take that law, they'll see that law, and they will use that law for evil, devious purposes. Okay? And the fact that you don't think that they will do that, or you don't care, because that's what it really is that they don't care. They don't care. So they're like, let everybody do whatever they want. No, that's not what we're doing. It's the same thing with the criminals. They let the criminals do whatever they want. They're out here talking about, oh, just leave your doors open to your house and leave your windows open to your doors open to your car. What type of nonsense? What type of nonsense is that? You know, I see you here. Who's that? Savell? You say you don't have a sword in this fight, but I'm happy to see Republicans are backing conservative values. Brother, me too. Me too. I am too, brother. But the fact of the matter is that there are those that are calling themselves Republicans now that do not actually back conservative values, and they don't like when we use the word conservative at all. They are fake. They are phony. Okay. They are what I call the light right. Okay. LITE. The light right. Those are people who say that they're Republican, but really they call themselves center right or whatever the heck that is. That's not even a real thing. Really, they're left. Really, they're Democrats. They need to be in the Democrat camp, but they're trying to come over here. They might be a moderate Democrat or I'm using air quotes, conservative Democrat, but they're not Republican, and they're definitely not an actual conservative. They might have some of those views, but really they're what I'm calling the light right, LITE right, because they're not really us. They're worse than the rhinos because they try to play like they're us and they're not. And really all the time they're doing exactly what the socialists did in the Democrat Party, which is tear us away from our conservative and traditional roots. And that's a no for me. That's why whenever you go to any of these rallies or you go to any of the events like TPUSA or Faith and Freedom or what else we got? We got a ton of different things, you know, AmFest or even other things that are out there, Yale, even though Yale's more libertarian, and all of this stuff. You always hear conservative, 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 conservative. Okay? Even if it's a Republican event, you hear conservative, 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 because those are our values. But there are those inside the Republican Party and that are trying to come over in the Republican Party that don't share those conservative values and don't want us to talk about that and demand that we soften our message as conservatives. Absolutely not. They are an affront to everything that we are attempting to do in our nation, everything that we are attempting to stand up for in our nation. And they just want us, again, just like the leftists, to be silent on the important issues. They don't want us to take controversial stances. They don't want us to say stuff like men shouldn't be in the bathroom with women. They don't want us to say stuff like, yes, you should have full rights to the Second Amendment. Okay, they don't want us to say stuff like that. They want to say, oh, well, maybe we could do some gun control. No. No, shall not be infringed. No, men shouldn't be in the bathroom with little girls and women. Okay? No, I will not participate in anybody's psychosis that identifies as a man that is a woman or that identifies as a woman that is a man. I'm not participating in that. You're not going to lull me into submission. You're not going to push me into complacency. And you're not going to get me to go along with some daggone unstable, instable nonsense that really somebody needs some medication if they truly believe that. And you and I both know that the majority of people that say crazy stuff like that don't actually believe that. And that's why they have such mental turmoil and anguish. So somebody else said something. Let's see what we got here. Got a couple of, that's a long comment. I'm not able to read that whole thing. Sorry, that's a long comment. I can't read that whole thing. Sorry. It just won't let me. The thing is too small. But we've got a serious issue right now in our nation. And that's people trying to silence the voice of conservatives. And I will not sit idly by and allow that to happen. I will speak up. I will continue to speak up. This is so important. This is so important. We need to restore our families. Okay, this broken home nonsense, this no fathers in the home nonsense, this I'm a woman, I can do whatever I want, and I'm a boss babe, or whatever the case, that nonsense is the deterioration of the nuclear family with the intent of the government to replace the father in the homes and it to be daddy government. And that's not okay. We don't need government to be the daddy, but now it's gone even further. It's gone even further. Now government wants to be the mama too. And the government says, oh, send me all your children in the schools and let us indoctrinate your children. Their most recent push was now in New York State, you can't have phones in the schools. Well, wait, why can't they have phones in the schools? It sounds okay on the surface. But the fact of the matter is it's not to keep people focused. It's so that the children don't actually record what's going on in the schools. Because there's a bunch of perversion that's being pushed in the schools. All this alphabetism is being pushed in the schools. All of this other nonsense is being pushed in the schools. Now in New York State, starting this year, okay, so this is really why they're getting rid of the phones in the schools. They're pushing this curriculum that the governor, Kathy Hochul, has said is anti-misinformation. It's going to teach about disinformation and misinformation and what'd she say? And anti-hate and all this other nonsense. And she's one of the most hateful people in the world. She hates black people. She thinks that we're dumb. Okay. You know, she said it out her mouth, you know, because apparently we don't know what computers are. And she's consistently done everything that she can through policy to disadvantage us as black Americans. She thinks we're stupid. But more so than that, does she care about, well, let's see, what does she care about? Does she care about Christians? She doesn't care about Christians. She stood up during COVID in a church and said that God spoke to her and told her that everybody should get those shots. Blasphemy. Blasphemy. I was hoping that the Lord would strike her down right there, because the Lord shall not be mocked. Okay? Blasphemy. Open blasphemy. Then she says that she cares about the impoverished. But in the budget bill last year, there was this year, there was $3.4 billion for illegal aliens. Now, let me tell you about that $3.4 billion in New York State, how valuable that is. Outside of it just being a huge number of dollars in taxpayer money, that is more than enough to house and feed every single homeless person in New York State. But they gave that to illegal aliens. But can we have that conversation? And let me talk about the illegal aliens for a moment. They've pushed so much stuff so far for these illegal aliens that they get more than anybody else for everything else. They've made it so that the refugees, the people that have lived in camps in some of the most squalidly conditions in the world and fought to get a sponsorship just to come into this country, get nothing. Because the illegal aliens that decided that they wanted to hop a fence get everything. Drink water, stay hydrated. It's absolutely reprehensible. Furthermore, the illegal aliens are chalking up our schools and they're snatching away the resources from our children in New York State, as if we didn't have bad enough schools as it was to begin with. And these are the conversations that we need to have. But people don't want to have those conversations because they get all mad and frumpy, especially the left, especially white liberals. There is nobody on this earth that I have ever met that is more hateful than a white liberal. I don't get it. I don't get it. Marcus doesn't hate anybody. That's like a lot of extra energy to give somebody. That's too much energy. I don't got that energy for nobody. But they are so hateful and so nasty and so mean. You can't even have a real conversation with them because they want you to shut up. They want to silence you. They don't want you to speak up because perish the thought that you actually might make them rethink what they believe, because nobody wants to question themselves. Because if you have to question yourself, then you might have to rethink everything that you're about. And nobody wants to question that. But this is some of the stuff that Charlie was challenging. He would challenge you to think past your basic preconceived notions, the conceptions that have been forced on you, the thought processes that have been forced on you by teachers and the such. The thought process that's being forced on us and force fed to us every day on a daily basis through the news media, through the music industry, through the social media, through movies, like all of this, oh, everybody should have free love and everybody should bang everybody and all of this nonsense. How is that healthy? How is that helpful? You know, and it's the same people that talk about mental health when we know that having multiple sexual partners ruins mental health. Like, that's not me talking. Go look it up. Okay. I say this all the time. Don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I'm telling you. Okay. I'm going out the way to tell you, so it must be important. So the more partners that you have, the higher you are at risk for mental health issues like depression, like the borderline personality disorder. Okay, things like that, and other ones as well that are escaping me at this time. But these things are serious, but they're pushed to us on the news and on the TV and on the media all the time. Let's see, somebody says to push it to the children is an absolute thing that has been the worst agenda. That's right. That's right. They've pushed this stuff on the children. Now, somebody was telling me, okay, that their little daughter, their little daughter came home. They're 10 years old. Their little daughter came home and said, oh, she's bisexual. What the heck does a 10-year-old know about being bisexual? 10, bro? You talking pre-puberty? You talking shouldn't even be having a discussion about sex. What does a 10-year-old know about bisexual? You understand what I'm saying? What is going on? What is being pushed on our children? But this is the stuff that they don't want us to have the conversations about. Now, the craziest thing to me from all of this is as they push this stuff on the children, they'll tell you, oh, don't have those serious conversations with the children because a child should stay a child. What do you mean a child should stay a child? You mean you're not teaching these children critical thinking skills and the ability to reason, but you want to push perversion and sexuality on them? A couple months ago, there was maybe about a year ago now, there was what do you call that? Like a questionnaire that was going on in one of the suburban school areas. And it was somebody that was in like 4th grade. Okay. Like 4th grade. It was either 4th or 3rd grade. Okay. And they sent it to their mother, and it was asking them, it said, when was the last time when was the last time that you had anal sex? When was the last time you had oral sex? Now, this is in elementary school. What is this doing in elementary school? And what is the assumption that somebody in 3rd or 4th grade is having anal or oral sex? What is going on here? What perversion and perversity is being pushed and forced on the children? And why can't we have these conversations? Then they'll try to tell you, oh, no, that's not happening. That's not going on. But it is going on. It is going on. Like they try to tell us that, oh, they don't have litter boxes in schools and stuff like that. That's not going on until there was a big blow up in one of the suburbs out here where I live. I can't remember. I think it was Pittsford. It might have been Penfield. They're all the same to me. We got like 3 P towns and we just call them the P towns. But it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And then they'll tell you, oh, you're wrong. You shouldn't be talking about that. Dave says, I have to agree about the liberals being hateful. Some of them can be very demeaning. And this is what we're dealing with, because they don't want us to actually stand up for what we believe. But it's okay for them to stand up for what they believe. But they'll try to take us out if we stand up for what we believe. They'll try to make us look bad in public, like we're the bad guys. Okay, I'm not a bad guy if I believe that a human child, is not able to be a dog. How is that a controversial statement? How is that a controversial standpoint? And more so over talking about things that aren't controversial, that are now controversial, How is it controversial for me to say that I don't believe that the government should be doing everything for everybody all the time, because the government is a giant machine that has nobody else's interest in anything except in perpetuating itself, its own power, and its own growth and domination? How is that something controversial to say? How is saying that socialism murders and kills tens of millions of people? How is that controversial? How is that something we can't talk about? Then you say things like, oh, well, socialism has never been tried before, not real socialism. What? What are you talking about? Marx, Lenin, hello? The USSR? The Bolshevik Revolution? Red October, or not Red October, the October Revolution? Well, Red October, but that's a whole different conversation. That's some war stuff. But the October Revolution? Like, are we not being serious? China, Pol Pot, okay, Cambodia, all of these places, the Congo, Angola, how many more, or even closer to home, Cuba? How many more countries that were socialist or are communist that have killed and imprisoned tens of millions of people do we have to have until you say, oh, well, you know, maybe it's not a good idea? But you know why people are starting to say, oh, well, it's a good idea? Because they're being taught this nonsense at a younger age, and they're not hearing anybody else say anything against it. That is why it is of the most importance that we speak up. Not later, you guys, now. Let the martyring of Charlie Kirk be a redoubling of power for you to encourage you to stand up. Let it be a reason for you to champion even harder for righteousness and truth. Because it must be us. Because it won't be anybody else. And I encourage you, if you're watching right now, please follow and subscribe, okay? And I am running for city council, so if you're not local, you can donate to my campaign. Marcus the number 4 Rochester.com. Where I live, we've got 4 socialists on city council right now. 4. And they're trying to get a 5th one on there this year. And I'm fighting my dangdest to make sure that that doesn't happen. So I encourage you, go on my website, Marcus the number 4 Rochester.com, and donate whatever you can, whether it's $25, whether it's $500. You don't have to be local to donate. But this is how we make a difference, by starting the important conversations, showing people that you're not afraid to show up, showing people that you're not afraid to speak up. It's so important. Somebody says, who's this? Okay. Ivana says, freedom of speech has become a war of trying to be silenced if you speak up, and it's very scary. Yes, ma'am. You're 100% right. And please, you guys, share this video. It helps with the algorithm. You're 100% right. They're trying to silence our voices at every go. And they'll tell you, oh, you're being hateful or you're being mean. Excuse me for having common sense. Excuse me for being a reasonable individual. Excuse me for being a conservative. Excuse me for being a Christian. You know, I applied for a program the other day, and I was a little too conservative for them. Like, they looked me up and what I stood for. I stand by everything. I'm an open book. I don't care. I stand for what I said. I stand by it. If I said it in kindergarten, I still mean it today. Okay. I don't go back on what I say. When I said it, I meant it the first time. Okay. So I guess they didn't like that too much, that I was a conservative and that I actually stand up and advocate for real stuff. So they were like, no, we don't want you. That's fine. God will put me in the right place. God will put me in the impactful places where I can reach more people, where I can achieve more, where I can enrich the lives of others. Don't be where you're not wanted. But if anybody is willing to have an open conversation with you, it's important to have that open conversation. But they're trying to stop us from having those conversations. Let's see. Kevin says, yes, we talked about this in church tonight in total agreement with you. I caught some of the live stream of the church. It was in my YouTube. I didn't realize you guys were on YouTube, and apparently I follow you on YouTube too. But it's important. It's important. It's important that we speak up. We as conservatives, we as people of sound mind, we as Christians, we as people who just haven't lost their rabid behind mind must speak up. Because who's going to do it? The crazy people that are saying that you need to eat bugs, right? If you guys don't know about the eating bugs thing, go look up that. They want us to eat bugs. And in New York State, they've made it so that now you can't have as many cattle that you used to be able to have. The whole thing is crazy because they want to skyrocket the price of meat so you can't afford it. And then they blame it on President Trump when it's California and New York passing these crazy laws to make it more expensive to grow meat. You know, all the different regulations that they put in on chickens? Like, it's ridiculous. And then you wonder why the chicken costs so much or why the beef costs so much. Because our states are the ones that are crushing us. Because they know that if you do not have a diet that's high in meat protein, that you're not able to be as cognitively clear, you're not able to build as much muscle, and you're not able to fight back and push back. This is why they fed the gladiators all that type of mush and gruel. They didn't give them a lot of meat. Why? Because they wanted them to be bulky, but they didn't want them to have stamina. Okay? They didn't want them to really be agile like that and be able to keep up with the centurions. They didn't want them to be able to do that. Okay? And that's the same commonality that we're seeing now. They're trying to poison us with all of these high starches and all of these seed oils and all of this other nonsense, okay? So that we aren't able to think clearly, so that we aren't able to reason clearly, so that we aren't able to build up and get strong and stuff like that. What did they say? They published articles in the last year talking about, oh, exercising is white privilege and exercising is Christian nationalism. What? What type of nonsense? Excuse me for wanting to be healthy and as a man wanting to not be a belly flabby blob. You know what I'm saying? Like this is crazy, but this is the stuff that they're pushing. Hey Jake, I see you there. Jake, you're commenting from Twitch. I see you there. But make sure you follow the page. This is so important because when it comes to food, it also talks about mental development. And that's why you see such trash food in so many schools, you know, and they're like, oh, well, the kids can't concentrate. Let's throw them on some medication. Throw them on some medication because they can't concentrate. Have you ever watched your nieces and nephews? Do you have kids? Okay. What do you mean they can't concentrate? I ain't never seen a kid that's in 5 years old that would be in elementary school, in kindergarten, not running around, okay, getting into all types of stuff. And you want them to sit down at a desk all day? And they're doing this and pushing this on the children to push conformity and to push submission. They don't care about educating the children, not really. That's why I encourage homeschool. That's why Charlie was a big proponent of homeschool and school choice. We need homeschool and school choice because it's very clear everything that the government puts its hands in, it jacks up on purpose. And let's be honest, everybody's like, oh, put your trust and faith in the government. Why am I going to trust and faith in the government when the government can't even govern itself? The government can't do its own basic duties right. Why am I going to put faith in the government? You understand what I'm saying? But they want to empower the government so that it can have more power over you. Naya says homeschool. Absolutely homeschool, sis. Absolutely. Homeschool your children. You know, Malcolm X would say, don't let the enemy teach your children. And that's too much of what's going on right now. We see that in colleges. They're indoctrinating them with all types of nonsense. We see that in elementary school and high school. We see that happening every day. But we, as the people of this nation, are still allowing the enemy, which is the government, to teach our children. And at the same time, on that same token, we don't get involved. And we have to get involved. So I encourage you, if you are a parent and your child does go to actual public schools, get involved with your local school board. Get involved with your local parent-teacher association. Get involved because nobody else is going to. And going back to them taking the phones out of the schools, there's no phones in the schools. That means that the kids can't videotape what's going on in the schools anymore and show you at home what the teacher is teaching, or show you at home the craziness that's going on in the school with the violence. Come on, people, wake up. They're not for us. They are against us, and they are against the people. And that's why this push for a return to conservative values, for a return to family values, for a return focus to the base core of what the foundation of our nation is about is so important. And this is why I am ever so thankful for Charlie Kirk. Okay, he woke up so many people. And you look at Charlie Kirk and you look at what spawned out from Charlie and his movement. There's a ton of different movements that are similar but not the same. You've got Blexit, which is in the same stable. You've got the Walk Away campaign, Brandon Sorka. You got all types of people doing all types of different things. And I'm not telling you to like all of these people or all this stuff. What I am telling you is that many people are standing up, just like myself. And I encourage you to stand up, because we got to stand up, because nobody is coming to save us. And you guys, I encourage you, please donate to my campaign. You don't have to be local to donate. Marcus, the number 4, Rochester.com. That's Marcus, the number 4, Rochester.com. Help me defeat these crazy people here where I live, because this fight that's going on here, if we get one more socialist on city council, we're done for. We're done for. So I have to win this race. Victory is all but a definite thing that must be done. Because if we don't win here, Rochester is lost. And I see so much of the country going that way as well. So please donate, whether you can $25 or $500. You don't have to be local to donate. Go on my website, Marcus, the number 4, Rochester.com, and donate. But this is serious. We've got all of these people in positions of power that are our enemies. And I want to really speak and lean in on the Christian side for a second. As Christians, we're commanded by the Lord our Father to raise our own leaders from within the church. Not these people. We should not be voting for people that are not Christians. We should not be voting for people that are fake Christians. And if you've been here for a while, you heard me talk about them allowing men in women's restrooms and in bathrooms with girls here in Rochester. One of the people that voted on that, it was voted 9-0, showing you that we don't have one person in there that has any concern about the actual public or any even good reasoning. So somebody could have abstained. They didn't have to vote for it. You know what I'm saying? But they don't care. But 9-0. And one of the people that voted for that is a pastor. How are you a pastor and you vote for that nonsense? Men in women's bathrooms. You couldn't even abstain? You couldn't even abstain. You understand what I'm saying? Naya says no moral compass. That's it. And that's why as conservatives, we must stand. That's why as Christians, we must stand for righteousness, for our nation, for our future, and for the children. Because it's about legacy right now. It's about what's going to become of our nation in the next couple of years. It's about what's going to become of our nation in the future with our children. Because let's be honest, you guys, it doesn't matter what shade you are. It doesn't matter what color you are. If you are an American, nobody anywhere in the world wants Americans. So if America fell tomorrow, you ain't got nowhere to go. Mexico's already kicking out all the Americans. Canada doesn't want us. So where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? They don't want us anywhere. Africa doesn't want us. Okay? All they're going to do is try to scam, scheme, and skim you. Okay? Unless you're a wealthy-to-do billionaire and then you don't even care about it. Okay? Like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and them people. Okay? But I'm pretty sure if you're watching this, you're most likely not a billionaire. If you are, definitely donate to my campaign. Marcus number 4 Rochester.com. Shameless plug. But the fact of the matter is nobody wants Americans anywhere. This is so serious. So we have to fix our country. We have to fix our country. Naya says, pop your stuff. My bad, bro. I'm bringing a little style to your channel. Thank you, sis. But this is important, you guys. If we don't stand up now, we won't have anywhere to go. The Democrats are doing everything that they can to make life unaffordable. I was just at a PSC, PCS, Public Service Commission, PSC event the other day. PSC in New York State are the people that make the decision for the power use and stuff like that. And you know that our president is trying to reinvigorate the US with lower cost energy and everything like that. These people at the Public Service Commission in New York State are trying to make it so that we have all electric, and they're telling us that we're going to use less electricity in the future than we are now. Well, hold up. How are you going to use less electricity? You're going to kill everybody off? Everybody going to move out? How are we going to use less electricity in the future when you're pushing electric cars, electric vehicles, electric stoves, electric fireplaces, electric furnaces, and electric everything else? How are we possibly going to use less electricity? That doesn't make sense. Something ain't adding up. 2 + 2 ain't equaling the number that you getting, because you getting 2 + 2 is 10. I got 2 + 2 is still 4. You understand what I'm saying? Like something's not right out the gate with that. Then they pushing this electric bus nonsense on us, which is a whole nother conversation because we're up here in the cold and the weather and all this other nonsense. But the fact of the matter is that they're pushing stuff on us like windmills and solar panels. Let me tell you guys something about New York State. It's cloudy here most of the year, 300 plus days a year. It's cloudy, overcast. So we couldn't even reach peak efficiency if we even wanted to try. And on peak efficiency, it would take us over 500 square miles of clear-cutting forest in New York State to put enough solar panels on there for us to have enough solar panels in optimal conditions. And I've already mentioned to you, we don't even have optimal conditions because we got 300 days of cloudiness. And that's in optimal conditions. 500 square miles of clear-cut forest would have to be cut down. Tell me how that's good for the environment. Okay. And if we wanted the actual battery backup, because the sun doesn't shine all the time, y'all, and we got to do something with that excess energy, right? We would need another 2,200 square miles. That's 2,200 extra square miles that we would need to clear cut forests to put the battery storage on to supply enough power to everybody. So 5 plus 22, you're going to get 27. Okay, so that's 2,700 square miles of forest would have to, and agricultural land would have to be completely turned over for solar power. You make that make sense. How much money is that going to cost, y'all? Y'all know that's not feasible. When we could just do nuclear power, when the nuclear power plant, we got a nuclear power plant not far from me. Okay, the oldest one in the nation. Okay, that's still operable. Okay, that's still operating, longest running one ever. We're also the smallest nuclear power plant in the nation, so that's kind of cool too. It's called Gannett. But the fact of the matter is the federal government's giving out all types of money for nuclear power. Why aren't we focused on that? We know that it's safe, we know that it's clean, and people will say, oh, well, nuclear power, oh no, it's a nuclear bomb. First of all, you don't know anything about nuclear bombs. Nuclear bombs are not atomic bombs. You don't have a clue what you're talking about. You don't know anything about current nuclear bombs, so that's another thing you don't know what you're talking about. And nuclear power has nothing to do with nuclear weapons. Hello? Like, let's be honest here. But they try to push this warped concept inside your mind because they don't want you to have low-cost energy, you guys. Because if you don't have low-cost energy, the government can control you more. That's why they keep pushing the price of the gas higher and higher and higher and higher. That's why we don't have any oil refineries in New York State. Make it make sense to me. So all of this is about power and control, and it's the reason why we must stand up and we must speak truth to power and truth to our neighbors, our friends, our loved ones, and the people that we don't even like so much. Drink water, stay hydrated. But this is important. It's important for us to stand up and fight back. It's important for us to retake our nation. You know, it's like, it seems like these people are trying to divide us more and more and more every day. Okay. We saw that Ukrainian lady get murdered on the train, right? And they tried to turn that into a black and white thing, right? Well, why would people want to do that? Well, that's because it makes them feel self-righteous. It's not about the crux of the matter, which should be, oh, they let a repeat criminal out over and over again. And they're like, well, why aren't there riots and why aren't they tearing stuff up? It would have been tearing stuff up if it was the other way around. Well, wait, pause. I thought we were supposed to be the people that didn't want riots and didn't want people tearing up stuff. What are you really talking about right now? See, those type of people that are using that type of thinking, that are pushing it on you, you got to be very thoughtful in that type of a manner. Because what they're doing is they're trying to divide us by race. That's the same thing that the people on the left are doing. Again, that's that light right that I told you about earlier, L-I-T-E. I'm coining that term. If you haven't heard it before, that's my term. Use it as you will, okay? That's these people that are, sometimes people will call them the woke right, but they're all part of that same concept. Stuff that's divisionistic and separatistic, okay? Stuff that's really more common on the left, okay? Now, some of them are so problematic that all they want to do is say, oh, well, I'm conservative, I'm American first, I'm America first, but all they do is tear down and denigrate other races. But that's all a distraction. So the people that are truly in power, the elite, okay, the elites, those are the people who are truly in power. They can do whatever they want. They're steady winning. And right now we got a president that wants us to win too. Why aren't we working on focusing on us winning and how we can come up being an American citizen, how we can restore industry in our nation? But y'all want to talk about race and dumb stuff. We out here talking about race for somebody being murdered instead of the fact that the criminal shouldn't have been let out of jail at all, instead of the fact that these are far left policies that let this man out of jail that shouldn't have. That the people that pass these laws are really criminals and they're disservicing their constituents and the rest of everybody else, and they should really be in prison for negligence and assisted what do you call that? There's a word for it. It's like assisted murder or whatever the case is. When you're not really a party to it, but you help with it, that whatever that is, y'all know what it is. Drop it in the comments, okay? Because that's what's happening here. That's what's being done. Okay, they're trying to push out all of these narratives to distract us while we've got the enemy inside our gates, which is these Marxists and socialists and communists that are tearing down our nation. I saw a new thing the other day. I want to say it was Minnesota, but it might have been Missouri. And they're called the what they call themselves. Not social democrats. That's what they're calling themselves, social democrats. So they've taken it, instead of democratic socialists, they've taken it even more softer, and they're saying now we're social democrats. Don't play in my face. You know what I'm saying? Don't take a piss and tell me it's raining. But who's going to stand up against this nonsense? It must be us, because then nobody else going to do it. No matter how much they play with language, how many times they try to change words and definitions of words, we should not let them do it. The same way they changed the definition of what a vaccine is, just so that they can use gene therapy with the mRNA shots that they did during COVID. Those things weren't vaccines at all. They had to change what the definition of a vaccine was to make them fit the qualifications of being a vaccine. Just playing in our face with words. Don't let the government play in your face with words. Don't let these Marxists play in your face with words. Don't let these leftists play in your face with words. Because they'll manipulate you and cultivate nonsense if you allow them. And it's the same thing that they're doing right now, right this very second, with illegal aliens. They say, oh, well, let's soften it. We'll start off with illegal immigrants. No, they're not immigrants. They didn't come through the right way. Don't insult immigrants that came here the right way. And they're like, okay, well, that's not soft enough. Let's call them migrants. Okay. Thank you, John. I see you there. So I was on a show on Search Warrant Radio today. Check them out on their stuff too, on their socials. John, drop some socials down there for people. But yeah, so they put all of this stuff out there, and they're like, okay, let's call them migrants now. Instead of illegal immigrants, we're going to soften it more. We'll call them migrants. But they're not migrants. Migrant is a person that says, let's say they move from Oregon to Wisconsin. Let's say they move from New York to Pennsylvania. That's migration. It's internal, inside the borders of a nation. It's not from another country. That's immigration. Okay? And since they're not immigrating because they're not doing it the right way, that's called an illegal alien. So they try to push all of this nonsense and all of this crazy stuff, and they don't care. They don't care because they know that the more that you hear people say it, the softer and more used to it you're going to get. That's why you got Republicans out here calling them migrants. I correct everybody that I hear every time I hear them say migrant. Well, they're not migrants. What do you mean? We're not playing them games. They're illegal aliens. Okay? And then they try to lump them all together and say, oh, well, we're all immigrants. I'm not an immigrant. My people have been here since before America was a country. I don't know who you talking to. We're all a nation of immigrants. No, we're not. That's number one. And number two, the majority of the people that are here are not illegal aliens. They did not come from illegal aliens. Like, whose face are you playing in? Like, don't let these people play in your face. That's what they do. And we have to stand up and we have to push back against these narratives now more than ever. And we have to encourage other people to do that as well. That's what Charlie will want. Charlie will want us to keep having those important conversations. Charlie will want us to keep standing up, even in the face of adversity, even in the face of threats. You think Charlie didn't get death threats all the time? Come on, man. I know he got death threats all the time. You know he get death threats all the time. You'd hear the people on the news threaten him with death all the time. You've seen Van Jones get up there and talk about him like a dirty dog. You know, it's crazy. Drink water, stay hydrated. But this is the stuff that we have to deal with as conservatives. And it's not okay. And I encourage you, if you're online right now following me, hit the follow button or hit the subscribe button, depending on where you are. Make sure you're following my channel, okay? Because we have to push forward on this stuff. It's ever so important. It's ever so important. Our nation is under attack from within right now. And if anybody's going to defend it, it better be us, because everybody else is the enemy. Now, you might say, oh, well, Marcus, that's talking a little hard, saying that other Americans are the enemy. People that threaten your life, people that try to silence your voice, they are not your friends. So what are they? They are your enemy. Now, whether you say that, oh, they're your enemy or not, I take enemy as being from the origination of the word anemicus, not a friend. Okay? Not a friend. They are not our friends. They're trying to destroy our nation and reform it in this nonsense Marxist ideology. But what they really don't understand and don't see is the Marxists are being manipulated by multiple different factions. They're being manipulated by the Chinese, okay? The CCP, that's who's manipulating them. They're being manipulated by the elite, and they're being manipulated by the billionaires. And they don't see any of it. And I can't forget the banks, put them in there too, okay? And they don't see any of it. They don't understand what's happening. They don't understand that they're being manipulated. But all of those groups know if they can divide up the United States, if they can turn all the people against each other, that they can have easier control. Turn the black man against the white man. Turn the white man against the black man. Turn the man against the woman. Turn the husband against the son. All of this nonsense. All of this nonsense. So they can keep us divided, keep us separated. That's what they want. They want division. They don't want proud Americans. They don't want American nationalists, right? Why don't they want American nationalists? We're American. Why shouldn't we think about our country first? Why shouldn't we prioritize our country? Why shouldn't we be nationalists? Explain it to me like I'm 5. It's okay for Poland to be nationalist. It's okay for India to be nationalist. It's okay for China. It's okay for everybody else to have faith and to be proud of their country. But if you're an American, you can't be a patriot. You can't be a nationalist. Stop playing in my face. Because that's what we're not going to do. We're not going to do. I love my country. I stand up for my country. I stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. I stand up for the flag. You understand what I'm saying? And we must stand up. Because if we don't stand up for our country, if we don't stand up for our beliefs, nobody is going to do it. So I hope that I can be an encouraging voice to all of you to take a stand. Stand up now. And however that makes it look like, maybe it's having a hard conversation with one of your family members at dinner and finally challenging some of the leftist viewpoints that they've been putting out. Maybe it's setting up a TPUSA chapter at your school. Maybe it's starting to go to city council meetings, or maybe it's starting to go to school board meetings or fire district, whatever you've got where you are. Maybe it starts there. Maybe it just starts with you speaking up just a little bit. When you feel that nagging little voice say, hey, that's not right. Because it's time for us to stand up. It's time for us to make a difference. There is no time like the present. It must be now, because tomorrow will be too late. So I encourage you, go to my website. Even if you're not local, you can donate to my campaign, Marcus, the number 4rochester.com. Help me defeat these socialists that are on this city council. And we have to make a change. It's the small victories, bit by bit. That's what's going to make us be able to win. That's what's going to make us be able to change our nation. That's what's going to make us be able to make a difference. You know, that's what helps us win hearts and minds. Every little single thing that we do can change and influence others. So I encourage you to stand up. I encourage you to encourage others. And heck, man, I encourage you to take action, because nobody's coming to save us. I know you've heard me say it before, but it's true. And the more that you stand up, the more people will tell you and let you know how much you impacted them. And the more allies you'll find. Because there are people who are so scared to even say anything. You never know that they believe exactly what you believe. And you might be in the same class, or you might be neighbors, or you might go to the same church. You know what I'm saying? But these things are very important, and that's why we must stand, especially where there are no voices other than our own to stand up. I got involved in politics because nobody was standing up where I am locally. Nobody was standing up. Nobody would stand up. Nobody would speak against the insanity that was being pushed in our local city council. Nobody'd stand up to these socialists and these communists. And I couldn't stand what was going on. I legitimately couldn't stand it, so I stood up. You understand what I'm saying? Not only could I not stand for it, I couldn't sit for it either. So I had to get active, because that's what we are called to do as American citizens, and especially as conservatives and Christians. We have no business sitting idly on the sidelines as insanity goes on and we just watch it happen. That's unacceptable. Because again, if we don't stand up, nobody's going to do it. What are we, to just let them run all over us? We're to just let them have their way with us? We're to let them have their way with our families, our wives, our husbands? We're just going to let them have their way with them, our children? We're just going to let them have their way with our country? Have a backbone. Grow some huevos. Stand up. Find your voice. And, and I know a lot of people, it might not be you yourself that's able to speak up, but if you find somebody that's willing to speak up, support them. Because it's not easy being a voice that speaks up. People that speak up, like myself, like Charlie, we get a lot of hate. A lot of hate, threats, animosity, all the time. All the time. To the point where it's like, is it even worth it? Is it valid for me to even be bothering with it? Why do I even try? But we have to persevere through it anyway. So maybe if you're not that voice, I encourage you to support somebody else who is trying to speak up. However you can. Maybe you can be a secretary at a TPUSA chapter. Maybe you can be somebody that makes phone calls for a candidate that's running. Maybe you can be somebody that knocks doors for a candidate. Maybe you can do any number of different things. Join TPUSA Action. Knock some doors for candidates that they're supporting. So there's all types of different options, but we have to be the ones that start to stand up, because nobody's going to do it for you. And of course, there are other groups out there like Moms for Liberty. They're great. Okay. You could maybe join a Moms for Liberty group. Maybe there are no other groups here. Maybe you just start off slow yourself. But there are so many different things that you can do right now to start to stand up. And it has to be us. It has to be every single one of us in any way that we can, to either stand up and speak up ourselves or to support others who are. Because we're all in this together. We are it. You understand what I'm saying? It is us. The US is us. It's all of us. Okay? And we are in this together. We must improve our country and our nation for our future, for our own personal benefit, but that of our children, that of the other people's children, that of our nation and our countrymen and our brethren. We must do that because we are called to do that. As Americans, we must make a better tomorrow for all of our citizens. And it goes without saying that to make a better tomorrow for all of our citizens, it starts with us speaking on the important issues and having those hard conversations, whether it's on alphabetism, the LGBTQRSTV2 plus QDW / icon, you know what I'm saying? Letters, shapes, and all these smiley faces and stuff that they got going on now. Craziness. Okay. Whether it's that, whether it's illegal aliens, whether it's overregulation by the government, whether it's energy policy, whether it's food policy, whether it's education policy, whether it's any type of policy, whether it's end the Fed, because we should definitely end the Federal Reserve, that's for sure. Whatever it is, we got to start standing up and having those important conversations. And one thing I'll say, about the alphabetism nonsense is I've seen a lot of homosexuals start to separate themselves from the trans insanity, because they said a couple months ago that there are no more gay people, everybody is trans, and that just really kind of blew my mind. Like these people identify as people who like the same sex, so you're kind of erasing them, telling them that they can't exist and they shouldn't exist because you don't believe that men exist and women exist, and that's weird. So you see a lot of them starting to pull away from that. And there's a lot of people that would be considered more conservative that are the homosexuals. But, you know, I mean, we're at a point where they are starting to speak up against what's going on. So we've got it where we got a whole bunch of people that see what's wrong and how we're all being manipulated in our country and what's being forced on us. And we have to start joining forces and creating alliances so that we can push back against the enemy that's already inside our walls. In my city, like I said, we got four socialists on city council right now. We get another one, it's over, it's a wrap. Okay, 4. We got Mondani running for mayor in New York City. We got that crazy dude, where is he, Minnesota? Okay, I don't know where he's from. He looks Somalian or maybe Eritrean. I think he's probably Somalian, most likely Somalian. That weird looking dude, okay, look cracked out, okay, talking about he's a socialist. Stop it, okay? We got these crazy people running all over our country trying to destroy our way of life. We got members that are active in Congress like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, and I forget the other lady's name that's from another country. And they're like, we prioritize our country over America. You're in the United States Congress. Go back to your homeland if you care that much about them. So we have to prioritize ourselves because nobody's going to prioritize us. And when we got people that are inside our country that are supposed to be our representatives that refuse to represent us, but are only doing self-serving nonsense like that, we must stand up. We must. We have to, because nobody else is going to. And we see this happening more and more and more everywhere. And it's unacceptable. But why is it happening and why is it a growing problem? Because nobody is talking about it and nobody is addressing these issues. Now, all of a sudden, people are mad that Mondani looks like he's going to be a likely winner in the New York City race. Well, that didn't happen overnight. Y'all let him Y'all let him get that claim to fame. Y'all let him grow that way because not enough people stood up. Now, a lot of people are starting to stand up, and I'm very glad that they are. And I wish them success, and I hope that he does not become mayor of New York City. But I'm here where I am fighting against these socialists that are on city council right now, that are all Democrats. We got 9 people on city council, okay? They're all Democrats right now. 4 of them are socialists, okay? This is a problem, and they're trying to get another one on there this year. We got 5 seats up, and I'm running for one of them. I encourage you, please donate to my campaign, whatever you can, whether it's $25 or $500. You do not have to be local to donate. Go on my website, Marcus4Rochester.com. That's Marcus4Rochester.com, and donate whatever you can to help me defeat these socialists that are on my city council. Because it's crazy. And we've got people that are putting up good fights all across the country against these crazy people. I see Peyton down there running in Texas. I don't know which district she's in because they were doing some redistricting down there. I don't know if she's in the same district now, but I think so. But I don't know what the number is now. But I see her down there running. We got a number of other people running in different places. We got Winsome Sears is running in Virginia for governor. And now Winsome Sears is an immigrant, but she's not an illegal immigrant. Okay, we got Byron Donalds running for governor of Florida. We got some good people that stand pretty much in alignment on conservative values for like 90% of everything. We got good people that are willing to stand up to great evils. And maybe Byron and Winsome are in better places than me and Peyton, but we even got people in Chicago that are standing up, that are willing to run against these crazy people. So we got to support them in any way that we can. Because understand, you might not live where the communists or the socialists are in power, but if we allow them to stay in power in these places, it'll grow. It'll grow and they'll go all over, just like the cancer they are. Look at how California and New York have poisoned the rest of the country. California poisoned Colorado, Washington, Oregon, Nevada, parts of Texas, Houston, you know what I'm saying? Dallas, like they changing everything. They've poisoned everything. California's policies, those crazy leftist Democrat policies are destroying everything in these red states. New Mexico used to be red, hard red. Arizona used to be hard red. You know what I'm saying? Colorado used to be open carry, freedom of everything. Very red. Now all of a sudden everything's leftist, Democrat, blue. Why? Because not enough people stood up where they live and pushed back against the Democrats and against the left and against the Marxists. And that's why it's important for us to stand up right now, because nobody else is going to do it for us. It's so important. And again, like I said, maybe it's not you. Maybe you can just donate, or maybe you can just volunteer with somebody where you are, or maybe you start a TPUSA chapter, or maybe you start a Moms for Liberty, or maybe you start whatever. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you start whatever. Maybe you join another group of people who are already active. Maybe you join your local Republican committee. Okay, maybe you do that. But whatever it is, maybe you run for office. We have to start pushing back against these crazy fools, because nobody is coming to save us. And if we don't stop these fools dead in their tracks, they're going to continue to go everywhere else. Look at what New York did. New York's run all up and down the East Coast. Now, New York has made Nashville blue, because all of the people that have left here that are Democrats go to places like Nashville, go to places like North Carolina, go to places like South Carolina, turning them blue. Turning them blue. In Florida, they got people saying, don't New York our Florida. Kind of like don't California our Texas, Like, it's crazy. But if we don't stop it where it is, it's going to go everywhere. And we must stand up. We must share our voices, and we must unite together and say no more. We won't sit idly by. We're not just going to let you do stuff and get away with it. We're not going to let you go after Christians and get away with it. We're not going to let you murder voices for our people and just get away with it. You think we're not going to stand back because you're out here trying to silence our voices? Oh, so you out here killing Christians. Oh, so you out here martyring people. Okay. Oh, you assassinated Charlie. You think we're going to shut up? We're not going to shut up. We're going to go harder. 4 or 5 times harder. Judai Nietzsche. Okay. 10 times harder. Okay. We are going to stand up and we are going to fight back. We are going to win back our country from these Democrats, from these Marxists, from these foreigners that are seeking to destroy and disassemble our nation. We are going to restore our nation to our foundational Christian and conservative values. We are going to restore our nation to a nation that is powered by small government, not a giant behemoth. We are going to restore our nation to a country where living is affordable and is charted by your own decisions, and you can chart your own course in life. We are not going to stand by and let these people steal everything, which is our birthright. We're not. We're not going to let them disassemble America. We're not going to stand idly by while they strip away everything that is America. We're not going to let them burn our flags. We're not going to let them wave the foreign flags of foreign countries talking about, oh, this country, that country. There is no other country but the United States of America. The same thing like there is no other God but Jesus Christ. There is no other way to the Father but through Jesus Christ. There is no other country but the United States of America in America. We must stand and we must push forward because nobody else is going to do it. May you be inspired to stand up as we chart our new tomorrow and our new destiny to restore our nation. Now is the time, and we can do it together. But we have to unite. We have to put the division aside where they're trying to divide us by race, where they're trying to say black people bad, where they're trying to say white people bad. Man, please, the banks are bad. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? The banks are bad. Those are the real bad guys. The Federal Reserve is bad. That's the real bad guys. The elites that are playing behind the scenes of Congress and really pulling the string there, that's who's really bad. The people trying to make you eat bugs, that's who's really bad. The World Economic Forum, that's who's really bad. The globalists that are pushing globalism on the United States, trying to erode the sovereignty of our nation, that's who's really bad. These fake, not just globalists, are the problem. We got these new fake white globalists, and they're even worse than the regular globalists because they try to put it under the guise of, oh, we're just trying to care for white people, so it's white people everywhere. It's not. It's a trap. It's globalism. Don't fall for them shenanigans. They're like, well, white people of the world unite. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for that white globalism nonsense, y'all. I'm telling you. Okay, my white friends and family, I'm telling y'all, do not fall for that white globalism nonsense. It's just a different flavor of globalism. The same way they got the different flavors of Marxism, like they got socialism, they got communism. Don't fall for none of it. It's all a trap. It's a trick to separate and divide us so that we're not united, so that we can't put a united front against all of the evil that's going on in our country. We've got midterm elections coming up next year, and the Democrats, who just go along to get along, are trying to put up a big fight to try to take all of these seats to push the Republicans out of power. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pull your leg and tell you that all of the Republicans are the best people in the world, but I'm going to tell you this for 100% sure. Right now, the Republican Party is our best chance at preserving our union. The Republican Party is our best chance at restoring Republican and conservative values. It is our best chance at having a free nation, and we must stand up and we must get active. And anybody that's in the Republican Party that is pushing all of this leftist or wokeness or light right nonsense, we got to push them out. We got to push them out. Okay, because this is a fight for our nation. Forget those people that be like, it's a fight for the soul of our nation. No, it's a fight for our actual nation, our actual land, our actual property, our actual rights. This is a fight that everybody must stand up and partake in. No more big government. No more big state government either. No more big federal government. No more big state government. It's unacceptable. Barbara, I see you there. I love you too. It's unacceptable. We have to stand up, because if the Democrats take back the House this coming up year, my friends, we are in serious trouble. And I'll tell you this right now, okay? If you think that things are starting to get a little bit better, we also have to be concerned about what's going on with this impending AI disaster that we have coming, because the AI is coming. Okay. The Congressional Budget Office is like, yeah, in the next 5 years, we're going to lose 60% of all the jobs in the country. 60%. The government's not going to be able to absorb that. People going to be living crazy destitute. That's why we got to stand up now, because we don't have much time left. We let the Democrats get in there and they pussyfoot around and dance around and guffaw around and try to stop President Trump from doing whatever it is he's trying to do this week. Okay, they're going to ruin every potential option that we have at the next 3 years of trying to actually make a difference to improve the quality of life for the American citizens and the everyday man. Okay, this is what's going on. We must take a stand. We must push back against this insanity. Okay. And people will say, oh, well, you know, the Republicans are less than great. Listen, I only got a handful of people that I really like in all of Congress. I'm talking about the Senate and and the House of Representatives. I'm talking Rand Paul. I'm talking Tim Bouchard, however you say his last name. Tim. I'm talking what's his name? The bald-headed guy from Texas, Chip Roy, okay, and a few other ones. You know, Thomas Massey, of course. I'm talking about a few other ones. I don't like a whole ton of people in there like that. You know, there are some people that I like, but I'm talking about I pump with them like 98% of the time. You know, like I like Byron. Byron's in there doing good stuff. We got Anna Paula Luna. Okay, she's doing great things. You know what I'm saying? But we need more real people in there. We need to turn a lot of these Democrat seats that are in Democrat districts. We need to take them and turn them Republican, and not these fake leftist Republicans either. We need to turn them real conservative. We need to turn them real Christian. Okay, we need to turn them real to the interest of the American public. That's how we make the difference. That's how we change our country. Because like I said, we don't got much time left. They're still trying to push this digital currency nonsense on us and get rid of paper money. We already don't have gold coins and stuff like that anymore as tangible money, which is the only real type of currency based on our Constitution, which is a whole nother conversation. Okay. But we don't have that anymore. So now they're trying to push this digital dollar. Go look up, and don't believe me because I'm saying it, believe me because I'm telling you. Go look up the what is it called? The FedNow app. Okay, the FedNow app. It's crazy. They started this under Biden. Okay, and basically what it is that the federal government, all of your transactions that you make, okay, when you go to a store, like let's say you buy a soda, okay, you go to buy a soda, you go to check out, before the money hits the cashier, it goes from your bank to the federal government and says, oh, look what this person is buying. They're trying to buy a soda at Tom's store on 1111 West Main Street in Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's what's coming. It's already there. So we've got various governors that have made real currency happen again. So we've got them now in Florida. They've made silver and gold tangible tender again. Fantastic. I love that idea. I think it needs to happen all across our nation. I've actually got a plan for my city for us to do that. And I encourage you guys, please donate to my campaign to help me defeat these socialists that are here that I'm fighting against. Marcus4Rochester.com. That's Marcus4Rochester.com. You don't have to be local to donate. Please donate and help me defeat these domestic terrorists that we got here on my city council, because it's not cool what they're doing, you know. But we got to fight and we got to push back. We got to, I don't care where you are. You could be in the deepest of blue. Listen, where I live, it is D plus, I believe 7, almost 7. It's 6 and some change. It's almost 7. Okay. Comparison to Republicans. Okay. I'm running anyway. I'm running and I'm going to do everything that I can to win. Okay. And I could use your help. So please do donate, even if you're not local, whether it's $25 or $500, you can donate right online. Marcus the number 4Rochester.com. You hit the donate button. It even has a place where you can send a check if you'd like to. But the fact of the matter is, it's not just my red area. I mean, my blue area that I'm working on turning. You got to turn your blue area. You got to help somebody else turn their blue area, because understand, if those blue areas don't change, eventually they're coming for your red area. Eventually they're coming for your red area. There's no way to stop it. I've seen it happen in my lifetime right here where I live. We've got, our county always used to be red, right? Now it's purple. Okay, because our city's deep blue. It's been deep blue for like 60 years. But now the towns that have been red for years are starting to turn purple, purple, purple. They're starting to turn blue, 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 but they've been red for years. Why? Because more people of sound mind and sound judgment, that are true conservatives, that are true patriots, that are true Americans, that are true Christians, must stand up. Because nobody's going to do it for us. Drink water, stay hydrated. It's so disgusting, guys. Make me want to spit. It's terrible. It's terrible. And we have to push back against the insanity from the left. Okay? And when I say the left, I mean all of them. I mean the Democrats. I mean the Marxists. I mean the socialists. I mean the communists. I mean the what they call themselves, social democrats. All of them. All of them are seeking to destroy our way of life. All of them are doing whatever they can to undermine our family unit. They're trying to undermine our way of life, our beliefs, our culture, our social structure, everything. They're trying to undermine everything because they don't care. They care about themselves. They care about their collective. They don't care about you as a citizen. They don't give a flying monkey's uncle about you. And this is what we have to understand. We need to show them and give them a real reason to understand that our way is better than their way. And in order to do that, we have to start getting those voices out there that are willing to speak up, getting those voices out there that are willing to speak truth to power, getting those voices out there that will actually put pressure on them. Because a lot of these areas, they're just going along and getting away with anything that they want. Like I said, they just passed men in women's bathrooms with little girls here in my city. And they didn't tell anybody, you guys. Like, you got to understand how devious these leftists work. They didn't tell anybody. They snuck that into the sanctuary city law. What's that got to do with a sanctuary city, letting men in bathrooms with little girls? Nothing. Nothing. They snuck it in. They sneak so much stuff in to all of these different laws and legislation that the leftists and the Democrats are doing. You'd never know until it's too late. That's why I encourage you to get active. That's why I encourage you to speak truth to power. That's why I encourage you to have the important conversations. Because if you don't, nobody else is going to. It's up to us. If it's gonna be, it's gotta be up to me. It's gotta be up to you. It's gotta be us. Because nobody's coming to save us. But we can encourage others to actually stand up. We can be the light for others. And that's what we must be. And if you're Christian, you already know we are challenged to be the light. Okay? We must be the light that shines in the darkness to show others that the darkness exists. Because when you've been stuck in the darkness so long, you don't even know that it's there anymore. And that's what's happened. Too many people, good people, have become complacent, or they become silent because they don't want to speak on the important issues because of how it might make them look, because it might affect them at their job, because it might hurt them some other way. Well, what do you think is going to happen if you don't stand up? You think it's going to get better for you, or you think it's going to get worse? You understand what I'm saying? That's why we have to stand up now. But too many people are like, it'll affect me at my job, or it'll affect me in my social group. It'll affect me in my knitting group. Like, y'all can't be serious. Like, if we don't talk about these serious issues right now, there is never going to be another time in the future of humanity for us, because all of those rights and liberties are going to be stripped away. In my short lifetime, we've already seen a lot of things get stripped away from us as far as liberties go and as far as freedoms go. And if you're a little older than me, you remember when there wasn't any TSA. If you're a little older than me, you remember when there wasn't a Patriot Act. The government didn't used to spy on us all the time. But this got pushed through policy. So if we're not standing up and if we're not participating, we can't get the bad policy out. We can't be effectual on the important policy matters. Like right now, where I am, I'm working on recruiting as many people as I can to come to the next city council meeting, which is going to be on the 18th. Okay, so if you're in the city of Rochester, please call city council. Okay, tell them that you want to sign up to speak for the next city council meeting, which is on the 18th, and it's going to be at 6 p.m. So call them before that. They're open every day. That's a weekday. Call them, tell them you're coming. Okay, say, put my name on the list, because we got to start going out and speaking up. And like I said, where I am right now, we got to speak up against this men and women's bathrooms, because they snuck it in there. And people say, oh, well, it's Chris, what does Chris say? Chris says they just want to silence conservatives. That's what they do to us. Yeah, it's true. But they tried to sneak this in, you guys. They tried to sneak this men in women's bathrooms and men in bathrooms with little girls nonsense in without telling us. They put it in the sanctuary city bill. It's got nothing to do with sanctuary city stuff. They voted on it 9-0. 9-0. That means we don't have one voice of reason in the whole place. But that's how they get it over on you. They just put it in with whatever name that they want it to be. They just put it in under your nose. They didn't have a public commenting period. They changed the legislation at the last minute. You couldn't even see the legislation that they actually voted on for a whole week after they voted on it. That's crazy in and of itself. They worked with 10 nonprofits that are all funded by the city, that are lobbying with our own tax money, our own elected officials that gave them the money to begin with to put these laws in place. How does that sound clean, y'all? That don't sound clean. It don't look clean. It don't smell clean. But if we're not in the room, if we don't have voices in the room, we won't know what's going on until it's too late. We won't know what's going on until it's too late. And that's why we got to stand up. That's why we got to encourage others. That's why we have to be the ones to make the change. That's why what Charlie Kirk started with TPUSA is so important. It's encouraged people to find other like-minded individuals to support them so that they can be a bulwark to each other so that we can push forward on conservative values, conservative principles, and the restoration of our nation. Because he knew, and he gave everything he had for this, because he knew that if we didn't stand up, that our country would fall down. We have to stand up because we don't want our country to fall. We see the buzzards circling around the United States saying, oh, well, come into the collective, be part of the UN, concede to the World Health Organization, concede to the World Economic Forum, you know, do what the Bank of International Settlements wants, you know, be one of us. No, let America be that shining beacon on a hill for everyone to light the way for the rest of the world. We should be that country that is so desirable and the quality of life is so high in, and our people are not suffering. Our people are not having to fight tooth and nail just to pay their electric bill or just to buy food for their children. That's the country that we need to restore. That's our country. That's the United States of America. Not even too long ago. But if we give in, if we cower in fear, if we don't stand up, it'll only get worse. And the evil will take hold of our nation as it continues to grow. Because we see it. We see it in the news. You know, they try to dehumanize us. They try to act like we don't have any worth. They try to tell us to shut up. They try to make it so nobody hears our voices. You've seen people out there at different events where they're blowing horns in people's faces and trying to make it steal their microphones and stuff like that so that they can't speak. You've seen it. You've seen it with your own eyes. But all the more reason why we have to stand up, because those people, those evil individuals know that we can actually make a difference. And they want to discourage us from fighting forward. They want to make it difficult for us to fight forward because they know that the more people that hear our voices, that hear our vision, that see what we see, the more likely they are to stand up against the grave evil that is growing in our society. And of course, the evil isn't going to sit idly by and let you just stop the evil plans that are going on. That's why they took out Charlie. That's why they are attacking the Christian schools. That's why they're attacking Christians and conservatives on campuses. It's all because they don't want us to challenge the evil. They want us to be silent. You guys remember when the guy went to the Kamala Harris rally and he was like, Christ is king. And they were like, Christ isn't here. You must be at the wrong rally. Because they're godless heathens. They hate God They hate Jesus and they hate life. That's why they promote the murder of babies. That's why they promote gender mutilation of the youth, like all those top and bottom surgeries, and cut off the child's bosoms and cut off the child's wedding tackle and stuff down below. Like, why would you do that? Because you're trying to desecrate a beautiful thing that the Lord crafted himself. Because you're trying to take away the life that the Lord God created himself. And they're doing it with our elders too. And you wonder why there's so much violence outside, because that's the evil. That is the great evil that is permeating our nation. And we must stand up, because we can do better, because we can be that difference, because we can make a change. And that's why they are so serious in trying to silence us and discourage us from speaking up. And that is exactly why we must do it. Because nobody's coming to save us, because it's only us. It's you, it's me, it's other like-minded individuals. Encourage others, unite with others, because we have to put up a united front, because they are trying to destroy our way of life. They're trying to destroy our social system. They are trying to destroy our culture, and they are trying to destroy our nation. And I, for one, will not sit idly by and let them destroy the nation that I love so much. Okay? So I encourage you to stand up. I encourage you to speak up. And I encourage you, do not under any circumstances shut up, to take action. That's what we must do. Please, you guys, go on my website, Marcus4Rochester.com. Donate to my campaign. Help me defeat these communists that are on city council here where I live. Whether you're donating $25 or $500 or more, you can donate. You don't have to be local to donate. Help me fight. I need your help in this fight, you guys. Marcus4Rochester.com. Please donate. You don't have to be local to donate, because we can make the difference. We are the difference already. We just have to start uniting together and speaking up. We have to. No more of this nonsense and division. No more of this woke right nonsense in our conservative movement, in our Republican spheres. No more of this light right nonsense, okay, in our conservative spheres, in our Republican spheres. We must excise these people like the cancer that they are from our groups and from our areas, because they are only trying to sabotage us and pull us down. It's bad enough we have to deal with the establishment Republicans and the rhinos as it is. We don't need the rest of this nonsense. That's why all of us must stand up, because we can defeat the left, we can defeat the liberals, we can defeat the Marxists, we can defeat the socialists, and we for sure can defeat the globalists. Because I'm not about to eat the bugs that they're trying to push on us. But we got to stand up now. So I call all of you to action. If you are on a college campus, if you are at a high school, join TPUSA. Okay? Join TPUSA, create a chapter. If you're not in a high school or a college, see to possibly join your local Republican committee. Okay? If you're not able to see any of those things, maybe you join a Moms for Liberty group. Maybe you join any other number of conservative organizations that are working to get the message out, like Faith and Freedom or something like that. Maybe you join one of these other groups. But we have to stand up. Unite with like-minded individuals. Start supporting candidates. Start knocking doors for candidates. Run yourself. But nothing's going to change if we don't change it. And it starts here. It starts today. We must honor the legacy of Charlie Kirk. We must stand. We must be a voice in the crowd to say, no, there is a better way. Make sure that you follow and subscribe to my page, you guys. Share this everywhere. I'll catch you guys later. Remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. Be blessed and be well.